Hey. Alrighty. Welcome, Kim and Linda. I'm so excited to have both of you ladies on. We had a really quick chat last week, and I was like, wow, like these women have a story to tell. So, obviously, we're going to dive into your business, My Creative Break. There's a lot to tell about that. But before we get into that, I'd love our guests to get a little intro on each of you, and then we can dive into the actual business. So, Kim, give us a little background on you and how the creative break kind of came to be.
Yes, so my name is Kim, and I actually have a background working in marketing. And I'm also a really creative person. Like, I like everything creative. I like writing, I like dancing, photography, exploring. And that's the kind of person I was when I was growing up. And like I mentioned, I was working in marketing, and I did that for almost 10 years, and I was working in the software field. So I did marketing for IT and tech companies for a really long time. And at one point, I kind of like felt like I wanted to do more, like I wanted a change, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I kind of like, I was thinking about it, and I felt like I missed doing the stuff that I used to do, which was dancing and writing. And at one point, I was just feeling like really stuck at my job. I kind of felt like, I needed to do something like totally different. And I still didn't know what that was. So after hearing Linda's story, which you'll hear after, I kind of decided that, okay, I'm going to take the opportunity to really do something that I've always wanted to do, which was to travel for a really long time. So I ended up leaving my marketing job, and I did some traveling. And yeah, and like long story short, I traveled through Europe, through Asia, ended up in Morocco doing a retreat there. And all the people I met along the way kind of inspired me to like follow my passions, which is the root of my creative break. And after you hear Linda's story, it'll kind of come together.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much how my creative break kind of started from my travel experience and from Linda's story, which I'm sure she'll tell you.
Yeah, no, I love how, it came from a place where you're like, I need a break. Like that's really the
Yes.
business name. Like I feel like I need a break. You used creativity to kind of fuel you in that break. So it's such a cool concept in the business. So before we do get into that concept, because guys, I'm sure you're like, what the hell do they do? Linda, let us know a little bit more about your background and then maybe guide us into the introduction between you and Kim and how, the whole concept of the business came to be.
Yes, Linda, the other half of the story.
Yeah.
So yes, so I'm Linda, and so on my end, I've always been also a very creative person, but very shy. I always kept to myself. I had this like big dreams and aspirations, like oh, I love to go on stage. I'd love to write. I love to perhaps have my own play, go on Broadway on someday or whatnot, have my show. But yes, I was always shy, and I never really acted on it. So by trade, I'm an accountant. So that's I come from a background from accounting, and I really never acted on everything creative. I just really stayed in that lane of accounting. But what was cool is that my job, I was able to one day take a sabbatical. So once in your career, and I was also looking to really connect to that side of my creativity. And I came upon an improv class. And that's where everything changed for me. And that's actually where I met Kim through improv. So really looking at through help with improv, what helped me is really it got me to be a little bit more adventurous, getting me out of my comfort zone, and I really jumped into that opportunity to go away for a year, taking a creative sabbatical, I call it. So a creative
Mhm.
sabbatical, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna put my accounting hat just on the side. And I'm going to live as a creative, try new stuff that I always wanted to try. So, shoot a short film, write in cafes, and try things like stand up. I tried a lot of things, and really, it just rejuvenated me. I was just a totally different person, and when I came back, I was like, okay, I'm super grateful to have my job back. But just like Cinderella, like before like it strikes midnight, I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Because like Paris is over. I have to kind of come back to work, but I want to still have that feeling of just like connecting to my creativity, my creative side, and doing things that I enjoy doing. And that's where Kim and I we sat down and we talked about like how can we continue like motivating each other and perhaps even having a community that helps others to connect to their passions, doing stuff that they want to do. And that's how like my creative break came around.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that you guys literally just like kind of followed what your heart was telling you, you know? And this is something that, obviously being in the creative industry, it's very natural for me to do these kinds of things. But for others who might be, let's say, in accounting or in a field that's maybe not as creative as design, for instance, and even someone who's in design like me, to be able to take that time off and explore that creativity in a different way through a different matter, whether it's through acting or through improv, it could be dancing, singing, whatever. It could be painting,
Yes.
creativity really doesn't have any limit. And I love that you both kind of just said, let me do it. And that you found this, sense of peace and relaxation and rejuvenation in that whole story. So my creative break, how, like the two of you met during improv, what was really like the guiding force of, what, we need to do this. We need to show other people that they can also find this freedom through creativity. And like, let's start a business ultimately,
Yes. So yeah, it's we didn't start with like the mindset of just like, okay, we're gonna do this as a business. It was more of just like we felt a certain way, like we felt rejuvenated. We felt like this is fun. This is a feeling that we want to have throughout our lives. Like sometimes we're very busy or busy lives and we don't connect to things that we want to do. So what can we do to continue, even if we're working, even if we're busy, having that kind of space to just like, okay, this is my time, this is the time that I do something for myself. This is something that I love, or explore
Mm-hmm.
something perhaps that you've been dreaming about for the longest time. So we wanted to really, and also because people asked us, a lot of people when we just told them about our experiences, they were just like, okay, how did you do it? How did it come about? And we were just like, okay, you know what? Maybe we'll try to do just like having a community, do some motivation, really encourage people through through our experiences, and maybe they can also have their own experience to have their own creative break. So that's really how
Mm-hmm.
it came about. But also then we expanded, we're just like, okay, the improv element came about, and we just, okay, maybe we're gonna start incorporating some fun games so people can connect in a fun way, and also do some creative stuff at the same time. So we incorporated like improv games to do some little workshops. So we started like that slowly. That's like how it came. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna add that, when we came back together after our creative breaks, we were having a conversation, and we were trying to figure out, what was it that allowed us to actually, take the steps and follow these, because that, like Linda said, people were asking us, how did we do it?
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it was like, we don't know, we just did it, but we were trying to like
Supernaturally, right?
resonate
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that all stemmed from improv, because the first thing that they train you in improv is to say yes and like accept something that's being thrown at you, and add something even though you don't know what's coming, right? So that
Interesting.
kind of mentality stuck with us, and that's kind of how we started.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, and it's not the first time I've heard that. I wonder if, like in the life coaching that's being done, you also coach in that way. Cause I've, worked with a life coach before too. And that's really how she communicates. It's no, not like a but it's an and. So it kind of like opens the door to opportunity. So it's like kind of like the idea that like two things can be true and kind of like being a yes man or yes woman. It all kind of like falls into that same category, which is pretty cool. So, Kim, what's like an example of a workshop? Because I know that you guys go and support companies and as well as, individuals. But if let's say a company were to hire you guys to come in and support in whether it be, like team building or just building relationships within the company, things like that, maybe it's confidence boosting. Could you give me an example of like, because you're saying you guys do these workshops, but like what does that really look like, for someone who's like, okay, we're going to do a workshop to help with team building using improv? Like I can't imagine what that looks like. So could you give me an example of like an exercise that you would maybe have them do?
So when we say like we use improv as a base for everything we do, we don't mean that we make people start acting and going
Okay.
on stage doing like comedy improv. So I think that's the thing that's hard to grasp because like when people think of improv, that's what they think of.
Right. Yeah.
Um, for us, improv really means to do something that's unplanned. So to take something and accept it, even if you don't know what's coming. So
Got
we
it.
use different kind of techniques to explore that. So we'll use some art, we'll do some journaling, we'll do some storytelling, some group work, and we'll put people in situations like this is what's happened. Hey, what can happen next, or wait, we'll do some storytelling, say, to start telling a story about something basic like your day, but then what would you do, what happens next, right? So
Hmm.
it's all about getting in that playful mindset and yeah, just playing and saying yes and adding things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like there might be a lot of kind of like pushback or hesitation with that word improv, right? So like from a business perspective, Linda, what have you guys or ladies been working on to, better communicate this to anyone who might be hearing improv and being like, "Oh no, no way."
Yes, yeah, totally. And it's the first thing people say, like, "Oh my God, no, it's so
Yeah.
scary." And we always say like, it's not about going on stage or just like, oh, you're gonna tell jokes, you're gonna be a comedian right away or whatnot. For us, it's like we use the improv techniques and to help people to be, because improv is all about also listening and communicating. So we, for a company, for instance, like if they say like, what, your exercise look like, what is it going to bring? It's a lot of listening to others, because listening to the offer. When we say yes, and when we do this exercise, you become a better listener because you have to listen to receive the information and then add upon it. So then, then
Mm,
you communicate. So there's a lot of communication. We help with communication skills, listening skills, but then also, of course, confidence, because we try to make it very playful. And a lot of us, we kind of forgot when we were in kindergarten, we were just like, play like, okay, we're gonna be king of castles, queen of a castle,
yeah.
but together as a team, even like when we do team building, sometimes it's good to just have a little bit of role play and just kind of break those barriers. Like, let's imagine we're going some place, but all the role playing we're doing is about connecting. We want to just like
Hmm.
people to see each other in another light, in a different light, but also like, oh, I didn't know this person had like this in this kind of like playfulness between in them. So it's very cool to see that, to see like others getting out of their comfort zone little by little, being surprised by what you're being thrown in this new world, but also working on those skills. Like, okay, it could be a new world, but maybe we're working on maybe designing something together, which will help for the company, like brainstorming, and just how do we bring ideas together and let others like kind of like build this like one at a time, one word at a time, or one phrase at a time. So we use all of that kind of playfulness, this kind of a plan, but also just yeah, just make sure like people are connecting and listening to each other. So all of that can be
Hmm.
applied to company. And in all, I would say at the end, people are usually very happy. So bring that sense of just like, okay, it's fun, we relax, it's a little bit, we're not stressed, just like better for mental health as well. So
Yeah. It feels like play is like very much at the forefront of this, which I really love. Honestly, it's bringing me back to when I was in elementary school, my grade 6 teacher um basically had us do improv, like the actual acting improv, and do little skits and give us scenarios to help us basically practice and use the language. And I remember loving it. Personally, I always loved acting. I was never in like the drama club or anything, but I wonder why I wasn't, because I really did love it. I think I was kind of like too shy in a weird way, even though I was always super outgoing. But I did grow up going to sleepaway camp every summer, and we would have bonfires at night, and our little like individual like camp groups would come up with skits every single night.
yeah.
And it was the most fun. We would get dressed up and look so silly and like put on accents and just like come up with like honestly the dumbest stuff. But like just to be able to kind of go back to, you know, your roots, being young, being a child, being carefree, not being worried about that judgment, I think is so crucial. And I feel like that's a lot of the messaging that's coming through in the way that you guys are running your workshops, you know, bringing back that youth and that playfulness and really just connecting on a human level, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And
What's something, Kim, on your end you would feel so, for example, I was too shy to, let's say, join the drama club. For someone who is coming into one of your workshops or in life in general, who might be a little bit more hesitant about coming out of their comfort zone, what is an actionable piece of advice or mindset shift that you would recommend for someone like this that feels kind of stuck? They're like, I want to do it, but I'm kind of scared, and it's, you know, a lot of it is very much like the judgment and just letting go. What is like a piece of advice that you could give someone who's in that headspace?
Oh, we always tell people, like you shouldn't be afraid to come to like our workshops or our event, and especially like if they're afraid. A lot of people are afraid to come by themselves, and
Mm-hmm.
like we know that we've been there. Like the first time I took an improv class, and Linda too, we were terrified. Like if you've seen us
Yeah.
like years ago, we were really shy, and like if you had told us like 10 years ago, like, hey, you guys would be actually doing improv and doing incorporating that in your everyday lives, we would be like, absolutely no way.
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
Too funny.
And we know that. So the way we run all our events and all our workshops, we start really slowly. We start with something really basic, like a group activity that everybody does all together, and this could be something really like basic, like, hey, everybody, tell each other your names and why is that your name. Like very, very simple things
Yeah.
that you do every day, but you
Mm-hmm.
don't realize that you actually do improv every day. You talk about things that you weren't prepared for. You come
True.
across situations that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you you
You
were
didn't plan
not
to have a
ready for.
reaction for it. Yeah. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
So
And if
It's true.
oh yeah, sorry.
Go
No,
ahead. Go
I was,
ahead.
yeah, I was to say, if I may add to that, like being like a person that's shy, like been shy all my life, I would say like my advice to people who are just like, is it just be yourself? Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
just be yourself and take it one step at a time. It's really important to just like, because sometimes it can be overwhelming and say, okay, I'm going to come to the event, I have to talk, I have to do this and that. No, just be yourself and be open minded and be your and it's gonna be just okay, because that's the same thing. I came with that mindset of openness when I came to the improv class. I didn't know what I was gonna get myself into, and believe me, when I was there, I was like, what is going on? But it was fun. But I was like, oh my god, people are just like doing things that we were doing in the elementary school.
I've
And
seen I've seen like skits on like in movies and stuff, and people in improv and they're just like making weird sounds and noises and faces, and I'm like, oh boy.
exactly, exactly. Everyone were just like, okay, you are now. Everyone is a chicken, and we'll go
Yeah.
around like this. So, but
Yeah.
it was fun. It was liberating because it's a part of ourselves that sometimes, because of our jobs or just like being adults, we kind of repress that. We suppress that. We just don't think about it anymore. It's not cool to be, to play. It's like it's childish. But when
Yeah.
you really touch that side, it's so like it's wow, you forgot about it, and it's such
Yeah,
a
I
yeah.
feel like liberating is like the perfect word to describe it. I'm like almost like feeling it through you, through the screen, recording this, like the liberation that comes through. And I'm just remembering even my feeling in doing that. Like it's just so fun. Who doesn't want to
Yes,
have fun?
exactly.
Right? Makes total sense. I love the concept. So let's get into a little bit more of like the business side of it all. So you come up with this concept, this idea for another entrepreneur who may have an idea. What was your first step in, getting it together aside from obviously coming up with the name?
Oh yeah. Okay. So no, first of all, yeah, we had to come to okay a business plan and just making sure like is this idea viable as a business? What are we
Mhm.
gonna offer exactly? What is like or market? So really kind of like because we had run workshops and we people told us about things that they wanted also. So we were just
Oh,
like,
good.
okay, that's something that has legs. So we tried to just like, okay, we're gonna offer more workshops. So that's or was our first things that our offerings. So more workshops to help people connect. Especially it was like during the pandemic. So that's a lot of
Mhm.
people were just like by themselves. So a lot of people wanted to connect. So that's like we were going with that angle to help people just like connect and offer different types of workshops and seeing what works, what's the demand, and try to figure out our offering. So that was one of the first thing. And also then all the admin stuff like
Right.
incorporating and just
Bank
like
accounts. Yeah.
exactly having our first business bank account and everything. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, makes total sense. Was like what's been the hardest part so far? Because you guys are still in the earlier stages of starting and running a business. What would you say, Kim, has been the hardest part so far in the business aspect?
Um, I think it would be getting people to really understand like what our offerings are,
Mhm.
and like getting them to understand like the improv aspect, as in like it's not
Right.
really like full improv. Like we really just use the techniques we learned in improv,
Mhm.
and also getting people to understand what creativity really means, because we say we make creative break and we do creative things, and a lot of people think they have to be like professional artists good at drawing and painting to come
Right.
to our events. And we always explain that creativity is not just about artistic things. It's
Mhm.
about taking risks, thinking outside the box, doing things different, surrounding yourself with different people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's not always about just like being the best artist or best painter or
Yeah.
best whatever. It's about going and experiencing and doing and just
Yeah.
expressing yourself in whatever form that looks like, even if it's looks like shit. Because I suck at painting. I'd probably go and do like a really shitty painting, but will it be fun? Yeah. I'd love to like finger paint, you know?
Exactly.
Totally. Yes. Yes. And also
Anything to add there,
yeah,
Linda?
I can add of course so aside from that as well, I think just being because we're just starting or marketing and just getting the word out. So that's
Hmm.
also been like just like a little bit hard, just to get people to know like who we are and what
Yeah.
we do, putting ourselves out there and connecting to people and just like yeah, the marketing side as well, just like word to mouth. And so that's been like yeah, to establish yourself, that's been like a struggle a little bit.
For sure. It's always a struggle. I mean, as an entrepreneur myself, it all happened very organically for me because I was a designer. I pulled on in freelance clients and then I eventually kept growing my clientele, building a team, etc. And it was really honestly until this year, I hadn't spent a single dime on marketing. It was all word of mouth. So that just goes to show how powerful that is. Truthfully, like truth be told, it's been more powerful than any kind of like marketing or advertising I've done. But if you think about marketing, I'm saying like marketing more from like a monetary perspective. Whereas if you think about it, I've actually been marketing indirectly for years, right? Posting on social media, having a strong website, and even just that word of mouth and that communication between other people, that is still technically marketing. Someone is talking about your business and sharing about your business. So if you can do a good job and share, that's been the most amazing way I find to grow. But it certainly is, I think, being a branding agency now and dealing and having a lot of clients in that space, of coming and starting and launching and needing to grow and looking to build that awareness, a lot of the time it's in the little things. And whether it's from my personal experience or from all of the experiences of the other clients that I've dealt with, sometimes people expect these like immediate results. It's like you're going to put out an ad and everyone's going to sign up, or, you know, like you launch a website and everything's going to get sold out. It's like, it doesn't work that way. There are like millions and millions and millions of websites and businesses online. And just because you have a domain name doesn't mean that people are going to find you, you know? So there is a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes to be seen. And a lot of it isn't necessarily directly correlated to a dollar amount, right? So, like I said, like with social media, we're posting consistently on social media. Is that generating specific money into the business? Not necessarily, but people are able to land on our page, see that we're professionals, see that we're providing value. And that's basically what we tell our clients, right? It's like you have to be visible. You have to have the way that you present yourself is so important, right? Talk about first impressions. So, like, if your website, like, functions like half-ass and like certain things don't click or it's not mobile friendly, like all these little things matter. And half the time when companies come to us for branding, that first step is really to audit everything and take a look at all of those aspects, because we want to make sure that number one, there's that cohesion, and number two, the user experience and the value that we're providing the users is there. So if that does anything for you guys, you know, I'm sure that that's something that you're focusing on too in this stage. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be pushed by ads, like especially with your story and, you know, doing things like this podcast. It's such a great way to go out and share and explain the concept of the business without necessarily it leading to an exact dollar amount, you know?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
What's
So true.
been one of, let's say, the most exciting things that has happened or rewarding things that has happened since starting my creative break?
Most rewarding thing, I think for us, just having live events, because when we started, it was during the pandemic. So we had planned to launch
Yeah.
right before the pandemic. The pandemic hit, so kind of like threw, a curveball. We had to adapt a little bit when we launched, and then things started opening up. So doing live events was really great to really connect in person, which is really very different from connecting online. It's
Yeah.
so for us that was very exciting. So having our first event. So last year we had our first event, live event. That was like that was great, and we're actually coming up like with 1 year anniversary is coming up of live events. So we're super excited
Oh,
about
so
that.
fun.
So that's something that we were so happy about that.
You guys have an event coming up in like the next couple of days, right?
Yes, we do.
Talk to me about that. What's going on?
Yes, this week we're actually having our 1 year anniversary celebration, and we decided to combine our normal networking night with a paint night. So,
Oh,
like extra
fun.
creativity. Yeah.
So is anyone welcome?
Yes, anybody is welcome to come.
Anybody's
And
welcome. Give us the
it's
deets.
Sunday, September 24th. This one's in Montreal at EO Orchard Pub at 4 p.m.
Very cool. Very exciting. So anyone can just show up? Do they have to sign up or register anywhere?
They do. They need to register on our website. We have a couple of tickets left for that one.
Cool. Great.
Yes,
Anything else?
yes, so we do. And then so that's coming up, and then next week we'll be in Toronto. So
Okay,
we'll
good.
have
Montreal, Toronto. Yeah, both sides.
yes. So on next Wednesday on the 27th, so we have an event as well, and that's going to be a regular networking night. So, and when you say networking, we say always networking with a twist. So we add those little fun games and everything. So it's going to be really sip, play, connect, and just like meet other people, like professionals, just like fun people around. So that's going to be, we're excited to
Cool.
go back to Toronto. So yeah.
Yeah. Is this something you guys do regularly, is host these networking events?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Every month we should, at least once a month we have an event. So, and
Fun.
so we can check all the deets on our website. So yes, but we try to make them as regular as possible. So at least once a month, and then Toronto we come maybe once or twice a year. So
Perfect. Perfect. Well, ladies, it's been such a pleasure having you. But before I conclude the podcast, I always end with a segment called Mindful Minute. So I'd love to hear from each of you a piece of advice that you've learned from your lives so far that you would want to share with our listeners that may help them or impact them in their lives. So I'll start with you, Linda.
Okay, a piece of advice. For me, it's I would say, of course, we talk a lot about improv. It has a huge impact, like the
Mm-hmm.
yes and, but really applying just like one step at a time. Everything that you do, give it time, give yourself some grace, because it doesn't happen just like instantly. So even for me, my journey being, like I said, it was super shy. And if I have like an advice for people who are shy, who are introverted, and they say like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this or do that,
Mm-hmm.
have you just like have some grace to yourself, because just one step at a time, every little step counts. So that's what I would say. Every little step counts. So don't dismiss anything that you're doing. Everything counts, and it will come together.
I love that. What about you, Kim?
I'm gonna say you should always take risks and try things, even if you don't know like if it's a good idea or not. Like some people they say, "Oh, I have this idea, but I don't know if it's good, so I'm not gonna try it."
Right.
No, like go ahead, try it. You
Mm-hmm.
never know, like what it's gonna come to. We didn't expect to come this far. We just said we're gonna try one workshop, and here we are.
Cool.
And yeah, you should expect things to change. Like, some things, like you might try something and it might not come out like you wish, but, accept that and accept that change. Like, a lot of things that we've done has redirected us to where we are today. So that's
Yeah,
what I'd
no,
say.
I love that. I resonate with that too, because I feel like a lot of people have this kind of like one track mind and it's like this is what I'm going to do, and if I veer off it's like I've either failed or I'm doing something wrong, but that's not necessarily the case. And really kind of just like listening to like your heart and what feels right, and just because something isn't in that original idea or path doesn't mean that it's the wrong way to go, right?
Mhm.
Because ultimately we're always growing and changing and evolving. So if you set a plan 10 years ago and you're still following that same exact plan, chances are you're not even the same person. So, like,
Right.
how is that something that you can really follow? Like maybe you have ideas and goals and aspirations, great, but those can change and evolve. So I totally, totally resonate with that. And anyone I think that's like really stuck with that one idea almost is limiting themselves to
Hmm.
doing and achieving more by potentially saying no to things and opportunities that would perhaps open doors for them in ways that maybe they wouldn't if they were, thinking the other way.
Yeah,
So,
that's so true. It resonated too with me as well. And I'll just add a
mhm.
little things quickly. Don't be afraid to ask for help. So sometimes,
Yeah.
like just it's so vital. Sometimes we are just in our corner, but we came along here and we met some wonderful people, and that has supported us. So it's good sometimes to just like be open, ask for help if you need, ask for support.
Yeah, that's what's so cool about the business community too. It's like once you're in it, there's always someone also doing something in
Yes.
business, Like it can be isolating because most of the time as an entrepreneur, like you're doing a lot of the things alone. But if you join these kind of networking events and communities, and whether it's online or in person, like it really gives you that bouncing off point and people who can relate to you in one way or another. And yeah, if you can, lean on someone based on, their experience, then why not? We don't know everything. We never will.
Exactly.
So let's, take a jump forward and use everyone else's advice instead of having to learn everything on our own.
That's right. Yes.
Totally. Amazing. Well, thank you ladies so much for being here. Where can everybody find you on social media?
It's actually really easy to find us on social media. We're everywhere: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and our handle is My Creative Break on everything.
Amazing. Perfect. Well, thank you everybody for listening, and we'll chat next time. Bye.